Scientists in the UK released a study that suggests that obesity could be contagious. While the research is very preliminary, there is some evidence that the bacteria in your gut can not only affect your weight, but can also live outside the body. But don't worry, they're not suggesting that you can catch obesity from being sneezed on. So this is a new study that was published in Nature. It was conducted by scientists in the United Kingdom from the Wellcome Trust Sanger Institute. And what it consisted of is, so they grew over 130 types of gut bacteria in a lab setting, and they've discovered that 1/3 of the spores produced by the bacteria found in the gut can actually survive in open air. So basically, it's preliminary evidence that suggests that not only can the spores survive, but it's also possible that people that we come into contact with can maybe influence our bacteria. There's also evidence that suggests that 2% of a person's body weight is linked to the bacteria within your gut. So, you know, basically, if your bacteria disrupts my bacteria, it might be possible that I could catch obesity from you. Of course, that, you know, you don't want to jump the gun already and just say like, oh, it's contagious, it's like a disease, but they're just expanding on previous studies that have been conducted. For example, there was a study that they conducted with lab mice in the past where there were 4 sets of human twins, one of each. One was slim and one was obese, and they introduced the microbiomes from those people's guts into lab mice, and it was discovered that the mice that were given bacteria from the lean twin, they stayed thin, but then the bacteria from the obese twin made the mice exponentially grow weight very quickly, even though they were given the same amount of food. So, I mean, it's interesting because there's not a lot known about the bacteria within your gut and how it affects your metabolism, or how it affects just other kind of bowel issues or whatever. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think that sounds pretty bogus or what?
No, I mean, listen, when you say it off the top, it's, you know, you can catch it and it's a disease that can be caught. It's potentially a disease that can be caught. That obviously sounds highly questionable. But if you break it down to its sort of scientific component parts, whereby it's a bacteria in the gut is known to give you a number of complex issues and complex conditions. And if one of those can contribute to obesity, and that's the first step. The second step is if you can then discover that bacteria that can contribute to obesity can actually live outside the gut, therefore, and it can live in the air, and therefore can potentially be transferred, then you can see that logical step forward and that logical progression. Exactly. My question here is to what extent? So is it only affecting your body weight to a 2% degree, or is it? So it's giving you that extra little muffin top. Is that what we're talking about, rather than the actual obesity level?
I mean, the previous studies in terms of the microbiomes within your body, yeah, they talk about that 2% window. And again, it's not talking about, for example, if you like brush up against someone who's obese, that's how you're going to get it. You can't get sneezed on. But it just talks about like people that maybe, for example, families, they spend a lot of time together. They inhabit the same place. Right. That's more of a cause potentially. Although, of course, my brain initially goes to, well, families, though, you're looking at not only genetics, but you're looking at perhaps they have similar lifestyles, or they are eating similar.
Culture, food, diet. I mean, all of those things kind of, we're trying to excuse it, not the scientists are trying to excuse it, but surely that is the primary cause and the primary driver. This must be, I mean, I would have thought, even by their own admissions of the researchers, this is an ancillary contributing factor rather than the main one.
They're not saying that, you know, diet and exercise is any less important. That's still, you know, the foremost thing that you should focus on with regards to obesity. But, you know, at the same time, it's ways of understanding. So not only, if you know that this bacteria can live outside of the body, or that certain bacteria causes people to gain weight or causes you to lose weight, that means that it's possible that you can turn on and off the ability to become obese, right? So it really, it's a good study to be able to understand these different microbacteria and how they affect you. So Trevor Lawley, who is the lead researcher on this study, he had this to say. He says, I think there are definitely diseases that are caused by an imbalance in microbiota. If you look at something like inflammatory bowel disease or obesity, that's a possibility. People who live in the same house share a similar microbiome, and genetics only really accounts for between 7 and 13% of the risk. There are definitely people who are more susceptible to disease, and so it could be a combination of things. kids. I mean, I guess that makes sense too, because certainly you have family members, are super thin and some are heavier, you know. So I don't know. I mean, to me, I was really compelled by this at the very least, though, too. We're at the beginning stages of understanding the bowels and understanding the relationship between those microbiomes and obesity. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Can you catch fat?